Welcome to Short and to the Point, a podcast from the Comeback in Awful Announcing. Here's your host, Jessica Kleinschmidt.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Short and to the Point here on the Comeback in Awful Announcing. Jessica Kleinschmidt returns. I made it through opening day. Barely. It's the week of the year that I'm always the most stressed, but we got through it. Still trying to knock off some of that rust with some of my interviews, but we're figuring it out. But we have more baseball coming up as the season progresses. For now, though, we have WrestleMania coming up on April 6th and 7th. That's going to be on Peacock beginning at 7 Eastern. With WrestleMania coming up, I couldn't think of a better guest to have on than Montez Ford. Now, he's not participating in an actual match at WrestleMania, but we wanted to know what he does do behind the scenes and all the appearances that he has. So we talk about that. And of course, his athletic background. Not only does he have an athletic background with track, he was in the military, and he wants to eventually get into UFC. So you know he loves a challenge and loves to maintain his physique. So I pick his brain about that. Of course, everything else going on in WWE and his relationship with the wonderful Bianca Belair. So they have an amazing reality show out. I'm curious how they were managed to balance that all leading up to WrestleMania. That's insane. That is, he said, 6 months straight of just nonstop work. But he enjoyed it because he was able to do it with his wife. So without further ado, here is my chat with Montez Ford. Well, Montez is here. Montez, first of all, I'm obsessed with everything that you're wearing right now.
What?
Like obsessed. So walk me through the shirt, the chain, all of it. Tell me what you're wearing right now.
So this is spring. Obviously, we're on the heels of spring approaching, and currently where I'm at, the sun is shining, and we're already kind of kicking off spring already. So, like, I try to get festive with my colors. You know, got a couple of, like, some blues, some pinks, some oranges, try to reflect off my face. I have a nice little Cuban links chain acquired by one of my favorite timepieces that I have, and some nice little diamond accessories. Nothing too crazy, just to accentuate what I already have and just, be very seasonal and festive, So I just try to keep it in that time scale every time I'm either dressing or going out in public or having a Zoom talking about my favorite snack, which is Snickers, by the way. So, yeah.
We were talking about the snacks too, and I was telling you, I get hangry very easily, and it's scary for everybody else around us. And you said Snickers cures that. Do you get hangry at all?
Yes. Snickers is the cure for all hangry situations. You ever been in those situations where you're either stuck in traffic, you can't remember a task, or you're hungry, but you quite don't really know what you want? That's where Snickers comes in. Your body and your mind is intuitively calling for Snickers to enter your body. That's what it is.
I agree.
Snickers cures all, okay? Everyone talks about how essential water and all these other things are. They're great for you, but do they bring you pleasure? Do they bring you happiness? Do they bring you closure?
You know what? I'm waiting for a text from my ex. Maybe I just need a Snickers.
You need a Snickers.
I need a Snickers.
And maybe he needs one too.
He needs more than a Snickers, my friend.
To come to realization of things in life, So that's what it is. And this is like this is my 9th year. I'm entering my 9th year into the company. And this is also the 9th year that Snickers have been the presenting partner for this. So it's so great that like we both are meeting it ahead at the same time. And I'm at the forefront in the face of it. And like I said, what better time? And this is also my favorite snack of all time. Like I said, it doesn't just cure and heal all, but it does all.
It does all. Beautifully said. And it's funny. One of the first things you said was what you're wearing is that accentuates what you already have. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think anybody can lie with you. You have confidence. It's certainly there. Where does that come from?
Confidence. Just trusting my abilities in everything that I've been trained to do and learn to do, and just doing it into the most way that I can do it. I feel like confidence comes from just knowing that whatever you know or acquired trait or skill that not only you doing it, but you doing it your way. Like the way I dress, I dress my way. I don't try to model off too many people, or I don't try to model off anybody, because they're a whole another person and entity themselves. So I know I can never duplicate what they are already doing. But if I can bring something different, fresh, unique to the table, it's a whole lot of trial and error that goes with it. Like, this is not something that just happens overnight. With any skill or task you learn, like, you have to go through the trial and error parts. But I think that's the beauty of it, when it and with you growing your confidence, because by you going through the different trials and errors of it, you've seen the bad, you've seen the good. So like, when you get past all of those humps and speed bumps, then now your confidence continues to grow, because, oh, I've been in this scenario before, or I've done this before, or I've said this before, or, oh yeah, I've been here before. And like, what you did bad or good before, you improve and you do better the next time. So I think that's where my confidence lies in, and just being and owning up to myself. Like, I can only be true to myself, and I can only be as real for myself as possible. So if I'm being myself, I think that's where the confidence is, because I don't think anyone can have confidence, like, anyone can have
Mhm.
confidence trying to be something that they're not, because it's unfamiliar territory. It's easy being myself because I don't have to think about that. But unfamiliar territory, uh, and unfamiliar territory can be an example of eating a snack that's not a Snickers. Unfamiliar territory. Like,
We don't
Snickers
want
is,
that.
no, Snickers is good. You know what it does to you. You know what it does to you emotionally, how it makes you feel. And now you're going to go to these uncharted territories of trying to almond joy.
Yeah.
Doesn't
No, I
make
know.
sense.
I'm right there with you. And Snickers hasn't changed over time. You know what you're getting, and there's a comfort there.
Some things that are great don't have to be changed to
Hmm.
be late. You know,
Yeah.
some things that are great don't have to be changed to be what is late. And when I mean by late, that's like the latest fashion, or the latest food, or
Yeah.
the latest snack that's out right now. No, this Snickers has been consistent for a very long time. Like I said, this is the ninth year they've been the presenting partner with WWE. My ninth year in the WWE. And if you notice, it's been around WrestleMania time, and everyone's always talking about how good the WrestleManias are. Well, it seems like a common denominator every year: Snickers.
Yeah, right there with you.
Seems to be the answers of all of the life's problems, whether it comes to wrestling, life, exes that's not texting, you know, these long trips in which you don't have a restaurant or food in between. Snickers.
And you mentioned WrestleMania. So what's going on backstage right now building up to that big event?
Everyone is in WrestleMania mode when it comes to their diet, when it comes to their training, when it comes to the appearances, when it comes to even fashion. Like, everyone is in WrestleMania mode, and WrestleMania mode is pretty much like that confidence.
Hmm.
Everything is exemplified to like the highest maximum, like, ability and being. Everyone's just trying to like have great performances, great showings, great conversations, just everything. And WrestleMania brings out the best in everyone. Like, old, new, whoever it is, like, WrestleMania brings out the best in everyone. And like, it's kind of like, for us, it's like a family reunion. Like,
Mm.
we're all three on three separate shows all year round, and sometimes the only time we do see each other, ironically, is at WrestleMania. So like, it's a great time. You see how much work everyone's putting in when it comes to, like, their training and everything. So like, and there's other individuals that you haven't seen, all year round. Whether, I know it's a couple of guys I haven't seen from NXT in a while, or Raw, because when you're on separate shows, you're traveling most of the time, don't necessarily line up with each other. And with appearances and everything happening too, you don't necessarily see each other a lot. So it's good that we're in that time period of the year where everything is just not only firing off on all cylinders, but everyone's typically just bringing their A game.
And, despite not participating in the actual event, like having a match, you still have a lot going on. I know people are curious about, well, what is Montez doing despite not actually having a match going on?
So everything that's happening, like, last Friday, we lost our last opportunity to be a part of WrestleMania, which is being part of the six-pack challenge for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. And we haven't won or had the WWE Tag Team Championships in almost 3 years. So for us to not be a part of WrestleMania due to Final Testament still finding themselves in our business, it's a little upsetting, you know? Like, this is the biggest WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania XL, WrestleMania 40, and like, we're not even in the conversation. We're not even going for the tag team championship. So, kind of does something for us and does something to us. But by all these years of being nice and making everyone comfortable and, you know, everyone kind of taking our kindness for weakness, it kind of has gotten us nowhere. But since Final Testament seems to be here and still in our business, I feel like we have to kind of make an example out of someone. We have to kind of
Mm,
switch the tone. We kind of have to like make an example of like, hey, we've won the Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and Evolve Tag Team Championships, and sometimes that seems to be an afterthought because it gets clouded by so many things that are not happening with the Street Profits, or the fact that my wife is doing all of these miraculous things, and I'm just becoming pretty much a shadow or afterthought. So like, you gotta think all these things are happening, and us just trying to continuously branch ourselves out. But I think Final Testament is going to be that faction or those group of individuals that are going to have to be made an example out of, unfortunately, because it's time.
yeah. What do you want to make sure that you guys accomplish in order to where you're not left out for the next WrestleMania?
Like making sure that we're not denied, in
Mm,
every single way. Like a lot of people talk about our potential and everything we can do, but you know, most of the time that's you're delayed, not denied. So I think it's just a thing of us just continually showing what we do as a group and reminding people who we are. And like sometimes, most of the time, even like, we spoke of earlier when like either you're waiting for a text or whatever it is, like you kind of have to set the tone with people in order for them to get across and for them to know who you truly are. If you want people to know your identity, you have to set the tone. You can't get upset with people if they don't take you a certain way if you don't announce and pronounce what tone or what attention you're trying to give them. And I think Final Testament is just going to have to be that example for us to ship and shift into that mode of like people taking us serious.
how do you set the tone personally?
I feel like I set the tone in every situation, whether it's inside the ring or outside the ring, is completely letting my identity be known.
Mm,
What I'm there for, why I'm there for, who I'm there for, what is my cause, what is my purpose, and what am I trying to get to? What is my end goal? Like, I feel like anything that anyone does, if there's no end goal, if there's no long, big picture, that's in the future, like, you're just kind of just doing random things and it's not building to anything. But I feel like when you set the tone, you set the level of ways you want to be taken, you set the respect that you want people to approach and talk to you. And I think like by Final Testament being in this area with us, like by us setting the tone, it lets everyone else know like, what we're gonna do in the future. Like, hey, you
mm.
you may have did that to us, but if we let them just walk around on us, then everyone else feel like they can do the same thing. So by setting the tone, you kind of like let everyone else know afterwards, hey, if you come at us like this is what's going to happen. And if you decide to do so, like just know that this is the example. So that's why we have to set the tone now.
Amazing. And watching some of your matches, your athleticism is just through the charts. And it's really cool because I know you have a background in athletics with your track background and, of course, your military background. You want to get into UFC. So I know you really respect just the craft of the overall athlete. How does that help you, your athletic background in your WWE matches?
It helps a lot because it helps me with patience. It also lets me know, like, with anything, whether it's a physique, your athleticism, how fast you want to be, how strong you want to be, all of that stuff takes time and it's a process. None of this stuff is overnight. Success is not overnight. Like, I've found a lot of pleasure in just the process of sculpting my body, of getting the body stronger, of getting it faster, of knowing what things I'm limited to, but also things that I'm limited to that I can improve on, what things that I'm not great at, what things I can get better at, and necessarily working more and putting more emphasis on the weaknesses while sharpening the strengths at the same time. And I think it's just that's an everyday thing there. And by doing that, I'm setting new bars for wherever I need to be athletically. And if I don't try and max out in these workouts and my dieting, I don't have a bar of where I need to improve on because
Mhm.
I'm only kind of 50 way in it. I'm kind of got my foot in and foot out. Like there's really no judge to like where I should be if I'm not maxing out and writing a tracker down of my strength, my weaknesses, and trying to improve from there. So it's just a constant shape up of what I say is right now what I'm doing in my process is I'm carving my sculpture like any artist is. You see the canvas or you see
Mm.
like the big rock molding, and eventually at first some people be like, what is that? But the artist that comes in and starts sculpting and carving it and making it the way it is, that's kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm not at the finished product. I'm actually just carving out everything right now. But I do that by, like I said, keeping a track of everything that I'm doing and just trying to max out and improve because I can't improve if I'm not keeping a track, if I'm not trying, if I'm not making effort. I'm
You
not
mentioned,
seeing where my weaknesses are.
and that's interesting because you talk about the finished product. I just have this feeling, having met you for what, 15 minutes now, you don't ever believe in a finished product because you want to constantly be improving, right?
Yes.
Mm.
I feel like finished product is that's not really a myth or a state or a wrong statement. I think people just say finished product for whatever task or what
Mm.
goal that they're trying to get to. Like that's the finished product for that goal. But if you're trying to accomplish whether it's your athleticism, your strength, or whether it's acting, speech, or whatever it is, that's not necessarily finished product in all of those situations because you could look like $1 million but not be, you may be weak in this area. So like
Right.
I'm constantly carving all of these different ranges at the same time while improving within myself, and all of these things they all go in cohesive with each other. um, I feel like your mind, for one, is the most
Mhm.
important thing. And if your mind is not all the way there, then it's going to be hard to do these other things because your mind is going to be the one that's going to be telling you to keep going when you don't want to do another rep, when you don't want to eat that chicken and green beans again, when you
Mm.
got to drink, that gallon or gallon and a half of water every day, or when you have that 45-minute cardio that you have to do, or you have that workout you have to do. Your mind is the one that's going to be telling you, like, hey, you got to do this. Hey, you got to do this. Hey, you need to push harder. And also the confidence. I think in order for a person to not only just spread love in the world or be the best for themselves, they have to love and be the best for themselves mentally. Because sometimes the world may not give you that reassurance or that confidence that you may need, and it has to come from yourself first. So that's usually all the practices I use, and just go forward and don't be afraid of criticism. Like this
Yeah.
criticism's great. I take all types of criticism. Honestly, I probably listen to more bad criticism than good. um but and there's nothing wrong with it because I feel like all of us have things that we can fix, and we're all just a sculpture that an artist, which is ourself, is just waiting to carve out and show the world what the final product is.
And you mentioned, and it's really cool because I feel like your authenticity and staying true to who you are, trial and error, you're very open to talk about, I know what my weaknesses are. Is that easy for you to kind of dip into that and know what you have to work on? And what would you define as your quote weaknesses?
Oh yes, absolutely. I would say weaknesses are things that you necessarily either genetically or even confidently that you're just not, your strong suit in. Like if you're nervous in front of going out in front of public settings, like maybe you do a couple of reps or you go to some social gatherings where you have to talk to some individuals. So where you
Mm.
start like at a smaller, base, and then you kind of work your way up instead of just jumping out there to the wolves and having your confidence get shot. So it's all of these things that I've been putting like into practice, and I would definitely say for like weaknesses is just making sure you have time for everything. Life is crazy.
It is.
And you have your personal things, you have your personal goals you have, and then you also have your career goals that you have. And then it's the blending of the two and making sure, like, not only that they all work and function, but that you have time for all of them. And also, while you're doing that, having time for yourself. You know, you work hard, as hard as you work, you should play as hard, because I feel like life is a balance, and like you can't just work hard all the time. I know some people say take no days off and all that stuff. That's great. That's a great mentality to have. But I do think, truthfully, like, people do need to take days off. If you work hard, then you should play just as hard. That way you can go back into the fight or whatever you're trying to improve on with some confidence or some relaxation. And I couldn't imagine, like, you, Miss Jessica, like, just working 12 years straight and no days off, and you're not stressed, or you're
Yeah.
not wanting a vacation, or you're not wanting the Snickers. It's just it's very, very hard. So I do think, as hard as a person works, they need to play just as hard. Now, if you're not working hard, then you shouldn't be playing.
That's true. That's true. And I feel like you have to rest just as hard too, because you like say, and I just started resting probably the last few years of my career, and it's difficult, but I think that hearing it from you, especially because I know you're a competitor out there. So that's a great message to have to people who want to get to the top, but you have to embrace the rest stuff as well,
You
which could
got
be playing hard as well.
it is hard, but you got to think too. Even at the end of the night, as powerful as your cell phone is, it still needs charging.
Hmm.
Still needs charging. As
Yeah.
powerful as all the memories and everything that it holds for you, and all the social media and all the shopping apps and everything we
Yeah.
have on there, all the stuff it has to compose for us, it still needs charging. And like,
Mhm.
our body is the same way. It's a machine. You still need to refuel. You need to refuel, not just physically, but mentally as well. Like, and I'm really, 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 and I tell my wife this all the time. I'm so big on that with both of us.
Yeah.
Like, with anybody, any profession, it doesn't matter if you're a wrestler all the way to a RN, or all the way to an analyst, to a journalist. It doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
the amount of work you put in, you have to rest.
I agree. I read in an interview that you talked about you would see kids in the crowd crying, not in a bad way, but how you inspire them. They were just your biggest fans. And you said it was reminiscent of how The Rock made you feel. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, and kind of how that all, thinking about The Rock, seeing a kid's reaction, and then having that all come to fruition?
So when I see a kid's reaction, like, for one, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But I also go back to thinking of how The Rock made me feel as a child.
Hmm.
When I was 10 years old, I lost my sister to a car accident. And like, one of the first events that my mother took us to a couple of months after she passed was WWE SmackDown, because I was so heavily involved with wrestling as a kid. And I was like, one of the first things we did after my sister's passing, and I kid you not, to this day, my sister can tell you, like, Rock walks out, he makes his electrifying entrance, he gets on the turnbuckle and he throws his arm up, and I swear he looks dead at me and my sister. And I'm like, wow. Of all the people in this arena, he's looking dead
Wow.
at us. And I knew how I felt in that moment. I knew, like, of all the stuff that I was going through in life, that glance or that moment of Rock making eye contact with me took me out of the escape of everything I was
Oh my
going
gosh.
through. And it's crazy of how he didn't even know who I was, but he made such a drastic impact in what I was going through, and provided me to get away and have an escape for everything I was going through. So, by that happening to me as a kid, and me following my dream and actually being part of my dream, and seeing, like, now it come to full circle and fruition, like, I feel like it's a massive blessing that I'm at this platform, that I'm able to influence kids the same way The Rock did me. And I'm living proof of, like, influence can really shape and, change the world.
Did you tell The Rock this story?
I did.
And how did he react to
it,
that?
it, it was the greatest thing ever. I told him, actually, it was a few weeks ago, it's actually a few months ago, at the WrestleMania, when we finally went on sale. It was like the pre-launch party in
Oh,
Vegas. And it was, because it was crazy, 'cause it was actually the same week that my grandfather passed. And I told him the story about how, like, hey, when my sister passed, you were there. And like it's crazy that this week when my grandfather passed, like you're right here again. And it's like just thank you for constantly just being there for me in these hard times of my life.
Wow.
And you've always been the common denominator. So I told him that, we embraced and everything. And, my childhood self just came out a little bit, but
Yeah.
I definitely told him no.
But no, we had Corey Graves on the show recently, and I've heard John Cena talk about this before, and he said he believes there's kind of a resurrection, a revamp in 90s WWE to now. And Corey totally agreed with it. So do you think that that's the case? I feel like we're seeing more of the 90s WWE kind of again.
I think so because a lot of us watched as kids, and like
Yeah,
the kids who watch now are now working now. They're part of the business, and I'm one of them. So like I feel like now we're just basically adding those elements, and like what kept us so intrigued and excited as kids, and it's so cool because not only have we know the moments that kept us excited, but now we're actually the ones that are actually generating and being a part of these moments. So it's such a great time to be a professional wrestling fan and on the heels of the biggest WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania XL, and then our childhood heroes actually being a part of,
oh
this
yeah,
WrestleMania as well. So like all of these, you see like the cross brand and partnership of like so many generations like just joining together for WrestleMania at this time. And it's like for me, it's like the most exciting time because you see so many different waves of talent now being a part and integrating with each other.
it's so cool to see. I want to talk about you and Bianca. And before I get into it, though, I took a screenshot of just this interview that you two did together. The way she looks at you, I, like goals times a million. And I screenshotted it. And the way that you look at the camera too, I guess it's all good. But it's literal goals. And it's so cool. Like during your show, that the reality show that y'all had, I've spoken to a few wrestlers about this, and you guys had to do a reality show during the busiest time of year. So it's WrestleMania time. How are you able to prep for the biggest event of the year in your career, the reality show, but also maintaining a marriage? That's a lot of balancing.
It was definitely a task, but I think what helped us was the fact that we're so like close knit and always on the same page. And like if it ever got too hectic, like we got our like secret code word that we say to each other where we just go off and escape from everything for a while. But it was definitely the busiest time of our year because at the time, like we were both of us were kind of doing both shows. So a typical week would be you would fly out Thursday, you would do SmackDown Friday, you do a live event, or you would drive to a live event and do the live event Saturday. You would drive and do the other live event on Sunday. And sometimes if you had Raw, you would go to Raw.
Mhm.
And then you would go home Tuesday. And as soon as we would land Tuesday, we would start filming. So we would film Tuesday all the way up until Thursday evening. And sometimes we had to film Friday and fly in Friday morning for SmackDown. We basically be filming Tuesday to Friday. So we pretty much had that was technically, truthfully, no days off for about
Yeah.
like 6 months. It was like that. So
Wow.
just finding like the in between moments in between to like get those breathers and just like stay on the straight and narrow path, just giving each other motivation, like, and just knowing like it never felt like work because I'm
Oh,
there with my
good.
best I'm there with my best friend, and it's just continuously us just doing stuff together. So it wasn't too difficult, especially the person I was working with. So I think that's what made it easier too, and the fact that we actually like being around each other, so that helps too. But
Always a
it was a
bonus.
yes, yes, it was a lot of fun. I definitely never felt at one time that it was strenuous. It was just continuous,
Yeah.
not strenuous, just continuous.
Beautiful. And it's cool. I saw you guys on Watch What Happens Live, and you guys are very open about your personal lives. And that's obviously part of the show as well. Even talking about like having sex before a match, you're very open about these things. Why is it important that you show off this part of you? It's a very personal thing, but you're sharing it with the public.
Well, we're in the information age now, and like
Mhm.
information is being presented and brought out in so many different ways, and like I feel like now you can't really necessarily hide things from the public no more. And I feel like the more genuine and real and relatable you are, like the more people can grow and get attached to you. Because like I'm not speaking for anybody else, but you know, there may be some individuals that feel like they're either higher or they're not
Mm,
normal or they don't go through the same struggles that people go through. And we just letting people know like, nah, we human just like you guys. We're just WWE. Our title right now is we're entertainers, but we go through the same struggles, peaks and valleys, highs and lows as anyone else. We just deal with them in our profession, but we deal with the same struggles that everyone else goes through. Like, you know, everything isn't always a smooth road, but that's what life is. And we just show like how relatable and unique and normal we are, just on this scale, and just to show people that, you know, by our partnership and our friendship, like that's how we stay close knit and keep our head on the swivel. And you know, iron sharpens iron, by us just being a continuous partnership and friendship and just doing the best we can, not just for ourselves but for each other.
before I let you go, now confirm this. She made the first move, right?
She did.
Okay. So statistically, I heard that when the woman makes the first move, she ends up marrying that man. So statistically, I mean, I'm not going to argue with data ever. Why do you think that that is? Because you're living proof of that.
So me, my family grew me very, very young as like, you know, gentlemen, old school,
Mhm.
like very, very gentleman. And, you know, never, you can conversate with a woman, but always make sure that she feels comfortable. And I feel like typically, you know, if a woman does make the move, then that necessarily means she's comfortable with the individual that she's
Mhm.
making the move on. And I remember, and I always tell her like from day one, that's always one of the main things I've always did towards her. Like I always wanted to make sure she was comfortable. I was always interested in her. I always thought she was beautiful. And, you know, at the public setting we were at, you know, she made the first move. And, you know, I always just wanted to make sure she was comfortable with me.
Mhm.
You know, if I can present myself at a distance, but very stoic and presentable and comfortable for her, then, and if she wants to have a conversation with me, then we can take it to another level. But I'm not going to just jump up on her and, you know,
Totally.
try to force something or, you know, I just, I can, if I can't do it from afar, then, you know, maybe I need to start looking at some other ways or techniques. But just being a gentleman, and just always making sure a woman is comfortable and has her space. You know, especially when it comes to you all being having conversations or intimate. I feel like you
Mhm.
definitely should make each other feel comfortable, and that's what I tried to do with her, and I guess it worked.
I guess it did. And the way she looks at you, the way that y'all look at each other is just, mwah, it's amazing. Montez, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Be safe, and hope you enjoy this weekend.
Thank you. That was Montez Ford. Make sure you're checking out WrestleMania. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are checking out WrestleMania coming up April 6th and 7th on Peacock. That begins at 7 Eastern. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. Thanks so much for Montez for stopping by and this amazing interview. This was really, really fun. Philip, thanks for all your hard work, especially today. I know I put you through the ringer. Make sure you're following everything on Awful Announcing and The Comeback, and we will see you next time.
Want even more short and to the point? Follow Jessica at Kleinschmidt JD and head over to thecomeback.com and awfulannouncing.com.